It's a tremendous blessing to be able to sit with His Excellency Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone, the Roman Catholic Archbishop of San Francisco, and a very important public figure here in the state of California. He is one of the speakers at our marriage conference. Your Excellency, thank you very much for giving this interview.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, in your lecture, you describe the differences between man and woman, between husband and wife, as not just anatomical, but deep and pervasive, God-designed differences. What exactly do you mean by that? Not just anatomical.
We're in a society that cannot appreciate that there are differences between men and women. The roles are all interchangeable, for one thing. And now there's so much confusion about this whole idea of men participating in women's sports.
Yes.
And it would seem as if these are incidental or, philosophically speaking, accidental features that do not pertain to the essence of the being. But femininity and masculinity is essential to our being. As I mentioned in the talk, just think about a human body. That already tells you there's a difference, right? You cannot think of a generic human body. You can only think of a male or a female human body. God designed it this way for a purpose, for the good of the children that they bring into the world. The only way to bring children into the world is the union of the male and the female. So it's good that children know and grow up being loved by their mother and their father. So that's the social purpose of marriage, which is already huge. But it's also revelatory of God's plan for us. So as I also will mention in my talk, that if God wanted to create his human creation to be in his image and likeness, we know from Revelation that God is a life-giving communion of persons. So Adam, corporate humanity, has to divide in half so Adam can come back together in a fruitful, life-giving union, faithful, fruitful, and for life, which is God's love for us, right? The Father, the Son, send forth the Holy Spirit to draw us back into the communion of God's love. So marriage itself is the image of God in the world. So without that, we cannot have an idea of who God is. God cannot reveal his inner life to us unless we understand this basic reality of marriage.
Yes. That is certainly very, very far from the average American's concept of the differences between man and woman. You've labored for decades, many decades, to set forth this vision of marriage and the reality of marriage as a place of wonders, of grace and miracles and mystery. And you argue for this also in your lecture at our conference. What do you think is the strength of the irrational opposition to this? Where does it come from? Why is it that what seemingly has been for most people throughout human history so obvious today needs a person to articulate it with such effort as you are doing? Why? How did we get here?
Yes, well, we can go into the whole spiritual cause of it, which is who would want to wipe out the image of God from the face of the earth? But humanly speaking, how have we gotten here? It's I'd say it would be the sort of, we're getting to the extreme consequences of the whole idea of the age of the Enlightenment, that we know in our traditions that it's faith and reason need to work together for us to apprehend the truth. And the Enlightenment privatized faith and based it on reason alone. But we see they both need to be together to function properly. Now, for centuries now, without faith playing its role, we've lost the sense of reason. Now there's not even reason. So this idea of the autonomous self-determination, and I think our society now, with our advancements in science and technology, we have certain ways of manipulating nature. We think that we can force our will upon nature to be what we want it to be. So it's a sense of an autonomous self. And then all of the social revolutions that have been going on for the last 50, 60, 70 years in our society, it is an age of rebellion anyway. So I think all of this rebellious spirit, autonomous self, self-determination, I impose my idea on reality and everyone must accept it, rather than reality being a given that we use our minds God has given us to explore, to discover, and to understand more deeply.
Yes. All fueled and supported by the devil who hates marriage, you argue in your...
Devil hates, yes, wipes out the image of God, and it's also the image of God's covenant with his people. Now, you're the expert. You wrote your doctoral dissertation on that, which I read, so to get a deeper understanding of it. So yes, it's all what we call marriage here is to give us a glimpse into the real marriage of Christ in the church, the wedding feast of the Lamb. It's all drawing us into that life-giving communion with God.
Yes. In your lecture, you speak about the insanity of the sexual revolution, and especially about popular quips that express the revolution, like free love and birth control. And you referenced G.K. Chesterton and his unpacking of those terms. Could you share with us a little bit about those terms, what they mean and what they really mean?
Well, what I say is what we can say about free love is what Chesterton said about the birth control, which is that it's neither.
It's neither.
So, if free love means being able to indulge myself in doing whatever I want to do in the whole sexual sphere, that's not love. And it eventually leads to bondage. Look at it. Just draw the connections. So many of the social ills we're experiencing in our world today is because of the breakdown of the family. So thank you for inviting Dr. Wilcox here. He's kind of the expert in that area. But we have multiple studies going back 60 years now, beginning with that famous Moynihan report on they called it then the state of the Negro family in America, sounding the alarm bells at 25% of African-American children being born out of wedlock. This was 1965, 4 or 5. He said, if this continues, it's going to be a disaster. We have to stop this. And instead, it's expanded all over the place. And we're in a fatherless society now. Families are broken apart. What interesting, though, is what all the studies, surveys show is marriage is becoming a privilege of the upper classes, the college graduates, more upper classes. Actually, they manage to get married and stay married. So their children are going to do very well in life. The lower income classes and even middle income classes they're much more affected by the breakdown of marriage, and they get trapped in a cycle of poverty. I saved an article that came out in the New York Times about 2 weeks ago about Disneyland and how it's catering more to elite people, and kind of average working class people are finding it harder and harder to have access. So it told the story of a woman and her 2 children and her sister. They're big Disney fanatics. They saved up for months and months and months and to go to Disneyland, but they couldn't get these premier passes. They had to stand in line. It took a long time to get the rides. They couldn't get all the rides they wanted to the woman and her 2 children and her sister. Now it contrasted that to a father who took her daughter on for New Year's, which was a very high season, but they were able to pay the price, and they got all the privilege pass, got everything done in a day. Something a lot of people would not notice. Look at the 2 scenarios. A woman, her sister, and a father and a daughter. There's not a father in the first situation, right? So to me, it was such a clear sign of, it's just sort of an anecdotal example, but it is an indicating factor of how the breakdown of the family is creating so much damage that, so if we want to heal these wounds of our society, we have to put the family back together. And there are things only a man can contribute as a father, and only a woman can contribute as a mother. And they're both beautiful. They're both needed. Sadly, we were speaking at lunch today with the speakers about our society actually does not value women. We don't value women, because for women to be valued, they have to do what traditionally men have done. If they embrace what is uniquely feminine about them, it's seen as demeaning to them.
Yes.
A woman who wants to dedicate herself to caring for the home and the children. What a beautiful, it's not like she's removed from society now. Women have always been active in, even when they were not in the work, they were always active in society.
Absolutely.
Churches had women groups, there were community organizations, the parent-teacher associations in schools. They were very active in community. But if she embraces her femininity to give her priority to caring for the children in the home, that's seen as demeaning and second class. That tells me we don't really value women.
Yes. I think of the most pure Theotokos, the most pure and blessed Virgin Mary. She's still the most popular woman who has ever lived. She's the most recognized person who's ever lived. She's we have the highest devotion to her, and yet if she was to be judged by contemporary feminism, she would be a complete loser.
Who is Mary? Mother and virgin. What is being attacked today in our society? Motherhood and virginity.
Yes, yes. Maybe the way to recovery is a greater exaltation of the Mother of God.
Yes.
And a real return to not just saying we love her, but imitating her. I love in our Orthodox tradition on Mount Athos. Many of the monasteries on Mount Athos have a central icon of the Virgin Mary dressed as an abbess, and she's standing. She's huge, and under her feet is the Athenite Peninsula. Mm-hmm. And she's standing there with an abbatial staff, and the message is, she is the one, even though no women step foot on Mount Athos,
yes.
She rules Mount Athos.
Mm-hmm.
And, people look at all of these rough and tumbling men who don't even interact with women at all because there's no women on Mount Athos. I think even having female cats is now finally accepted.
Oh,
there are some female cats.
There are.
But really, they bow before a woman, the Mother of God, whose life is viewed as the pinnacle of humanity, perfect humanity. I think that's incredible, absolutely incredible, and could really maybe be an inspiration for women today for what is of value. To live like her, to have a faith like hers, and to have a heart of purity like hers, to have a willingness to embrace the cross like she did. So magnificent. It's been a privilege for me to watch you from a distance, and for 2 decades now, as I was telling you at lunch. I think it's been 2 decades. And occasionally I get to poke you. I get to bump into you,
Yep.
maybe at a Walk for Life or at some conference or something, which has been always a great joy for me. Sometimes when you're traveling in the Southland, which I wish you'd do more of. I mean, you do have those San Diego roots. You got to keep those San Diego roots. I know your mom's gone to the next life, but
I try.
but yeah, you got to stay connected to where you're from.
Yes.
One of the things that has really inspired me is your courage to be willing. I've never viewed you as provocative, but you've always been courageous to speak the truth into a society and to do it from the heart of San Francisco. Wow. What has been your thinking process? Like, when you left Oakland and you went to San Francisco, was your heart like shaking? What?
Yes.
It was, yeah. I bet it was. I bet it was.
I knew this is a long game. There's an old saying that people won't care what you know until they know that you care. So it takes a while for people. So I already had a media image, right, when I went there. And I knew it was going to take a lot of time to break through that. But I just kind of persevered and tried to make myself known, try to listen to people. One has to learn the sensitivities of the culture in which they're in to figure out how to communicate the message.
Yes.
It can't be communicated the same way in every cultural context. So to try and understand the culture better, and understand the people and help the people understand me. It's taken a long time, but I think I've made some progress.
You've also helped a lot of other people make progress in this issue. I mean, going back many decades in this state, your defense of marriage, your laborious defense of marriage, helping pass Proposition 8, which was such a clear affirmation of what normal people, even normal Californians, think. It really revealed that this attack on marriage was something that was not done as a democratic expression,
Yes.
but very much as an elite imposition
Yes.
upon the states and upon people, even in California, if even California wants to defend marriage as between a man and a woman. You know, we're almost a decade past Obergefell and this attempt to redefine marriage. Since that time, we've had the happiness to see Roe v. Wade overthrown.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any sense that we might also be able to step back away from this, what can I say, a radical explosion of Anthony Kennedy insanity? Do you think that we have a chance of maybe stepping back from that and discarding this ridiculous attack on marriage that we know as Obergefell?
This is going to go on for many decades, if not centuries. I think over time, well, maybe it's too pessimistic. Over time, people will lose interest in marriage, except for those who really understand what it is, because we're seeing already a decline in marriages. It was the desegregation of sex, marriage, and childbearing and child rearing that has brought this about. That's a sexual revolution.
Yes.
It also always used to be a package, right?
Yep.
Sex, marriage, childbearing, and child rearing all went together.
Yep.
When you separate those out, well, what's the point of marriage?
Yeah,
now?
it's dissolved.
Yes, yes. So I think over time, people getting married will be the ones who understand what marriage is and really want it. I learned a lot of valuable lessons from that whole Proposition 8 campaign.
Really?
It was a very strong ecumenical effort, as you know.
It was.
We all understood the principle of spiritual warfare, that ultimately it was a spiritual battle. So we were united in engaging in prayer and fasting. And we knew we had to be united in our human efforts. And I think God blessed our efforts because of that, but also especially because nobody cared who got credit for what.
Yes.
We were doing it for the glory of God, not for our own credit. You know, there'd be a lot of media interviews and press conferences and all that, and people would say, "Oh, well, they should have asked you more. You should have talked more." I said, "It's not about me." And we all were that way. We didn't care who got credit for what.
Yes.
All we wanted to do was save civilization.
May it be. You honor us, Your Excellency, to be here and to be sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much for this interview, and thank you for being with us at the Marriage Conference.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
A very happy birthday to all of you, dear ones, which we commemorate.
Hungry for truth in a world full of noise? Download the Patristic Nectar App, a bridge to the timeless wisdom of the Orthodox Church. Whether you're at home, on a walk, or in the car, you'll have instant access to hundreds of hours of powerful sermons, saints, lectures, conference videos, and podcasts, all rooted in the teachings of the Christian faith. New content is added weekly, and best of all, everything is completely free. Join thousands of others growing in the faith every day. The Patristic Nectar app is completely free thanks to generous supporters. Download it today and consider helping us nourish others with the sweet teachings of the Holy Fathers.